Mr. Odoma further explains that in 2017, independent revenue was a problem. He insisted that in spite of the delay in the passage of the 2017 budget, 450 billion naira has been released for capital expenditure as at October the 31st.
The revenue up to the end of the third quarter, we've achieved 86% of our projected revenue up to the end of the third quarter. And in terms of expenditure, we have spent about 87% of the prorated expenditure for the 3 quarters, out of which we had released 340 billion naira as at the end of the third quarter for capital. But this has gone up. By the end of October 2017, our capital releases had gone up to 450 billion.
On the 2018 proposed expenditure, the Minister of Budget and National Planning says in spite of the global economic uncertainty as well as fiscal challenges and recovering in the domestic economy, it's set to ensure that planned spending is set at prudent and sustainable levels, where he gives out the budget breakdown in the proposed documents.
In transport, we have 162.28 billion counterpart funding for a number of railway projects. As you know, this administration is embarking on a railway modernization program. We are also constructing a new terminal building at Enugu Airport. We've made provision for a second runway at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. You recall that the Federal Executive Council approved the contract for Mambila Hydropower Project. We provided for it in the 2018 budget. We've also provided 12 billion counterpart funding for various transmission lines and substations. And the Minister of Education is here. He'll be pleased to know that we provided 10.15 billion for rural electrification access program in federal universities. Then we have a construction of LPFO gas power station in Kaduna, 4 billion for Kashimbila transmission, 2.56 billion for fast power program, accelerated gas and solar power generation. Then housing, there is 35.41 billion federal government national housing program. Now this is separate from the funding that we're putting for social housing in the social intervention fund of 500 billion. In works, we provided money for the second Niger bridge. Now this is a PPP project, so this is the federal government contribution. We've voted about 300 billion for roads throughout the country, for major roads throughout the country. The list I'm setting out here is just to give you a flavor. Lagos, Shagamu, Ibadan, Ilorin, Jeba, Abuja, Abaji, Kano, Maiduguri, Enugu, Port Harcourt, Odukbali, Calabar, Odukbani to Ikorekbene Road, Sokoto, Tambowal, Jega, Kontagora, Makera Road, dualization of Obajana Junction to Benin, Calabar, Ugep, Katsina Ala Road, Onitsha, Enugu Dual Carriageway, Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano Dual Carriageway, Beni Ofosu, Ore, Ajegbandele, Shagamu Expressway.
The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, clears the air on the issue of tax holiday in the 2018 draft document.
People are not paying taxes, not because of apathy, but because we have gone now for the last 30 to 35 years with a culture where people haven't paid taxes and there's been no consequence. So we have to reinvent that culture of being taxpayers, of being responsible citizens, of joining together to do collectively what we couldn't do individually. So the idea, and it's a very circular argument that, oh, I don't pay because I don't see what I'm getting. It is flawed, and it won't take us anywhere. We are going to have to come together as a nation for the future, for our next generation, and come together and do the right thing. The beauty of the tax system is that it's progressive. So those who earn the least pay the least, and those who earn the most pay the most. The problem we have currently in Nigeria is that of 14 million, we only have about 14 million taxpayers, but about 69 million people are working some form of economic activity or another. Out of that 14 million, the majority of them are PAYE. Those are salary earners, which means that the high net worth are not paying the right, or either not paying or not paying enough. And that's what we're simply trying to correct now with the VADES program. We're saying those people who haven't been paying the right taxes should please come in and do the right thing. Many people have 2 or 3 incomes. Even some of you in the room have shops, have businesses that you're running on the side. We don't pay tax on those incomes either. So if everybody comes in and does the right thing, we can drive the country forward. Our tax to GDP ratio today, 6%, is the same as Saudi Arabia. We can't afford to be like Saudi Arabia. We don't have their oil. We need to move closer to other countries who have some oil, but also collect good taxes, like Mexico, like Egypt. They have tax to GDP ratios of 16, of 19, and they also have oil.
Furthermore, Mr. Akabweze says the budget will show a better performance in the areas of debt repayment, welfare payment for retirees, and clearing of contractors' arrears.